ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ। ਮੇਰਾ ਆਫਿਸ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਮੇਅਰ ਫੋਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿਕ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ। ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਮੇਅਰ ਤੇ 7 ਵਜੇ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਮੇਅਰ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਰੇਡੀਓ ਸਾਊਥ ਈਸਟ ਵਾਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਨੇ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਸਵੇਰੇ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੀ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦੀ। ਬਟ Patrick Brown is with me and we are going to talk about two major issues. Car theft, carjacking. Recently he visited to Newark port. He learned a lot of things and now he's ready to talk with Bramptonian and Peel region, whatever, wherever you're listening to us. The second topic will be foreign interference. And third, recently कुछ लोगों ने strike की थी या मुजाहरा किया ब्रैम्पटन सिटी वाले बाहर RRL प्रोग्राम ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਚਰਚਾ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। Mr. Mayor, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Great to be back on your show.
Very welcome, Patrick. So I have a couple of questions. First of all, last week you visited Newark port. You learn a lot of things, and after that, there is a big success for the Peel region GTA. You got 3.5 million scanners for the intermodal in Brampton and Vaughan. What's you going to take on that? You satisfied with the federal input?
Yes, as you know, I've been very outspoken over the last 3 years about how auto thefts have skyrocketed in our country. This is funding organized crime. Last year, we had close to $2 billion in stolen cars in Ontario and Quebec. And, I point out the fact that we've got a bucket with a big leak, and that's the Port of Montreal. Our cars are being shipped out of the country. We've become a source country for stolen cars. The New York Times did a huge article calling Toronto a candy store for auto thieves. And so, for me, I really wanted to point out to the federal government, why are 10 times more cars stolen in Canada than they are in the U.S. on a per capita basis when we have the same cars, the same security systems? And it's why I wanted to point out what they fundamentally do differently. One, they have scanners. Like at the Port of New York, there's no stolen cars that get out of the Port of New York because they scan the shipping containers. They also they have to state what's in the shipping container 72 hours in advance. In Canada, you have up to 90 days after the shipping container's left Canada before you have to state what's inside the shipping container. And lastly, law enforcement there, local law enforcement, the port and border officers, the Homeland Security, they all work closely together. And that's not the case in Canada, where law enforcement is in silos. And so the good news is, I've been very critical of the federal government, but they have been starting to respond. On Sunday, Dominic LeBlanc, the Minister of Public Safety, came to town, announced the first scanner. This is something I've been asking for 2 years. So this is a good start. We're going to need one scanner at the CN Intermodal Hub in Brampton. We're going to need one scanner at the CP Intermodal Hub in Vaughan. And we're probably going to need 3 to 4 in Montreal. So we're going to need more scanners, but the first one arrived. That's good news. We're making progress, and I'm going to keep on hammering away on this issue because I don't want to see any more WhatsApp videos of people's cars being stolen. And so people say, why won't you shut up about this, Patrick? You're driving the feds nuts. And I said, well, I'm going to continue to drive them nuts until we solve this because I have just been horrified by the videos I've seen of people's cars being literally taken out of their driveways, taken out of their with their families there in the middle of the night.
Patrick, the question is why Canada is very far behind than America to adopt these kind of latest technology to combat the car theft and carjacking. What do you think on that?
Listen, this should have been solved years ago, but for me, there's no point in going backwards. You can only go forwards. I just want them to solve this today. And frankly, in Ottawa, the government nor the opposition were talking about this. 3 years ago, when I first raised this, no one was interested. No party would even talk to me about this. And now they're all saying, how they take it seriously. Well, about time. And I'm just grateful that they now care about it.
Patrick, the question is in Peel region, especially in Brampton, we have 6 MPs, Liberal MPs. They're helping you out to regarding this issue?
They are. They have shared all my advocacy points with the minister, both the Minister of Public Safety and the Minister of Justice. When I went up to Ottawa for my meetings, they accompanied me as I pitched the Public Safety Minister. I can tell you Shafkat Ali was with me when I pitched the minister. Sonia Sidhu was, so was Kamal Khera, among others. And so, we are, Maninder Sidhu helped us get Dominic to town. So everyone's trying to help.
Last interview, Mr. Mayor, you shared your very, very disappointing matter. Federal government issued $28 million for the scanner at Montreal Port. But you share with us, they push back that money. They don't want to put any scanner at Montreal. So now what is update on that?
Well, we don't have a solution yet for the Port of Montreal. And so, I would say I do think the government needs to force the Port of Montreal to be part of the solution. That still needs to be addressed. That's still hanging over us.
Mm-hmm. Let's come to the next point, foreign interference. Recently, you shared your issue with media. You have witnessed with some foreign interference in Peel region. You are also a federal candidate for the Conservative Party. And you want to share something with our listener, if you can?
Well, what I would say is mayors in the GTA get briefed usually once a year by CSIS on what we should be aware of. And the Brampton Guardian asked me the question, do I believe there's foreign interference in Brampton? And my response was, of course. I know there is. I know there's foreign interference across the GTA. And so, I shouldn't share more than that, but I would say there's definitely, I've been briefed on examples of foreign interference.
So the latest report, all party leaders, some people, they're saying there's a lot of things in that report. Jagmeet Singh, I can share the name, and Elizabeth May say there's nothing in that report. Mr. Trudeau says it's very concerning. He's very disappointed with the Jagmeet statement openly in the media. What is it going to take on that about the foreign interference, latest intelligence report?
Well, I haven't seen that federal report that the federal leaders are speaking of. But, my view would be Elizabeth May's reaction would probably be overly optimistic. I do believe we have challenges with foreign interference in Canada. And I think all parties need to be prepared to guard against that.
As a Canadian, you're also demanding Canada government should release the name of that politician?
I believe the Canadian government should make sure anyone who's working with a foreign government is held accountable for their actions, if they are an MP or not an MP. Anyone who is trying to damage Canada's sovereignty and push the interest of a foreign government here in Canada, that shouldn't be tolerated. And frankly, there's a lot of talk about China. This goes well beyond China. There are other countries that are very active in Canada in a negative fashion.
Last fall, Patrick, on this foreign interference, you were also a federal candidate, a Conservative candidate. Did you think is any interference in federal Conservative leadership race?
Of course. I think in any race that is going to have significant repercussions, and where it matters, there is foreign interference. And I think the 2022 Conservative leadership race, of course, there was foreign interference by multiple countries.
That's also this national issue. The last question, Patrick, this Sunday, some people gathered in City Hall, outside the City Hall. They're demanding residential rental censorship program should not be imposed. And in the last interview, you told me, I don't want to be a slum city. What's you going to take on that? The people demanding they want some changes, or they don't want to impose these RLL program?
Yeah, listen, there was about 20 people that were protesting. For me, that was very small given what we've seen. We've had town halls on this where 400 or 500 people come out upset, angry about how you allowed slum landlords to exist in different neighborhoods. And so our request is simple. You have to meet fire code, you have to meet building code. And there are some slum landlords in the city who say they don't want to. They say they want to have 25 students in a basement and they don't want to keep fire code. Well, Kawinder, every year there are examples of a student that dies in a basement fire. And so my message to these slum landlords who think they can continue to operate against the safety of others, those days are over. With our new program, we're now allowed to inspect these dangerous locations. And over the last 2 months, we've been quietly shutting down some of the worst slum landlords in the city. Not in Brampton. This is not how you treat fellow human beings. This is not right. And for all the good landlords out there, I know they agree with me. In Canada, it's a basic responsibility to meet fire code and building code.
Last question. I got some question from the Kabaddi, related to Kabaddi. This year the World Kabaddi Cup going to happen in London because there is no any stadium in GTA available for the Kabaddi tournament. They started survey. I also signed for that. They want their stadium in Brampton. So are you going to helping out to the Kabaddi Federation of Ontario for the new stadium in Brampton?
We are, and there's some very big news coming soon, so you're just going to have to wait for that news. But I can tell you the city government and the provincial government is working on something very exciting that you're going to hear about later this year.
Oh, thank you very much, Patrick. Thanks for joining me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.